Hello, everyone, and welcome to 10Rec's solution for exporting UA data for preservation. My name is Antonio Salazar. I am the digital marketing specialist here at 10Rec, and I'm accompanied by Augusta Cyrus, who is the account management coordinator. As you know, Google is going to be phasing out universal analytics, and it's more important than ever to now preserve your data if that is something that you want to look back on for any past trends for future marketing efforts. And what we're going to do is have Augusta walk through the steps of exporting and using both Google Sheets and Google Looker Studio to preserve that data so that way you are able to access it and share it. The cutoff is July 1st, so if the time is ticking to make sure that your company is set up to preserve this data. And what's neat is that we have this service available if you would like to have someone to help you with it, or if you want to do it yourself, that's where this video is going to be really helpful for you. So I'm going to hand things off to Augusta, and she's going to take us through how Google Sheets and Looker Studio can help preserve your site's universal analytics data.
Thanks, Antonio. Yeah, so I am going to show how to use a couple of easily accessible tools to preserve your valuable website historical data. The reason you might want to do this, as Antonio has said, is to preserve old universal analytics data from Google Analytics because those reports, which I assume most of us have become very familiar with over time before transitioning to GA4, are now going away along with all of the data that feeds them.
So how are we going to be exporting the data from UA?
Yeah, so we'll be utilizing a couple of free tools, Google Sheets and a Google Analytics Sheets add-on. I will show you how to install the add-on and export a sample report. And there are two important things to note before we get started. You'll want to make sure that you are using the same Google Sheet account as the Google Analytics account you'll be pulling data from. And you'll want to make sure to share the sheet with team members that will need access to the data now or in the future. This will be important when we get to the Looker Studio part. And I'll show you how to do both of those things once I pull up Google Sheets, and we'll just start from the very beginning. All right, so you'll want to start in a blank Google Sheet. You'll go ahead and do the standard things that you would do when you are setting up a spreadsheet. You'll want to name it. And in this example, I will be exporting user data. So I'm going to add users to the title. Just for clarification for myself, you'll want to go ahead and share the sheet as I mentioned. So you'll want to make sure that you're sharing it with the people that will need access to the data and anyone who would be viewing the Looker Studio report. And the access only really needs to be viewer unless you want people to be able to engage with the data and make changes. So once we have those two things out of the way, we will go ahead and add the Google Analytics add-on. You will go to Extensions, Add-ons, Get Add-ons, search for Google Analytics. The add-on we're looking for should be right here, the first option to select. You will see an install button here. It's already installed on my unit, so it looks a little bit differently than what you will see, but this is the one that you're looking for. Go ahead, click install. And once it's installed, we really can get started pulling the data from Universal Analytics. So I'm going to hop back into extensions, go to the Google Analytics add-on, and create a new report. Again, you'll want to name your report. So we're doing users, adding users there again at the end. And we're going to be using 10Rec data. You'll want to make sure to choose your Universal Analytics account. And for the metrics in this example, we are going to select users. And for the dimension, we are going to search and select date. And this is important because the Looker Studio will rely on that date dimension to make the data sortable when we get to that point. And we'll go ahead and create report. A new tab will be created. So you'll see your Google Analytics reports with a series of information. There are a few things that we'll need to do to these items to ensure that we're pulling the correct data. We'll be adjusting the start and end date as well as the limit. And I have a little cheat sheet for myself, so I'm going to grab the time range that we are going to use for this example. You'll just want to do the same on your end and use the same date format for the amount of data that you would like to pull from the start to the end. A lot of times when we are doing these reports, we know that a lot of our clients stopped seeing Universal Analytics data feeding or on or around September 30th, 2023. So we use that as our endpoint. And then for the limit, you will want to make sure that you place a fairly large number in here. Sky's the limit, add as many zeros as you'd like. This will help ensure that all of the rows that are contained in the Universal Analytics data export are transferred to this sheet. So once we have the start and end limit information updated, we can go back to extensions, Google Analytics, and run that report. You will get a report status update, and hopefully it is successful. Once you see this message, you can click right on out and you will see that the data has pulled using that date dimension and users metric. And you'll see here total results found and returned match, which is a good sign because that means it pulled all of the data available for users. And I did want to mention that you can run multiple reports in a single sheet. So just to show you again how to run through this, we will also add new users to this sheet. So what you'll want to do is go back to that first tab, and we will go back to extensions, kind of run through that whole process again, create new report. We will add a title. And for this one, since it's new users, I will add that in. Going back to the same Universal Analytics data point here. And then we are going to select new users for the metric and date for the dimension. Go ahead and create report. You'll see the same setup pops up right in the next column. We will just transfer over the same details from the first column. And then we'll go ahead at extensions, Google Analytics, run reports. Another successful run. And you'll see that another tab has populated for new users, showing that date dimension and new users metric.
Awesome. Thank you for running through that. You might be wondering now, okay, so how do we interact with the data in a more user-friendly format? And so this is where Google Looker Studio is going to come in handy. And I'm going to share what that looks like. So what's nice about Google Looker Studio, again, is that you can create custom visualizations with data from Google Sheets or many other input sources. Of course, the data can be viewed raw, in Google Sheets, which is somewhat easy to decipher, but the next best step would to be use a tool like Looker Studio to visualize the data. And so we're going to show you the Looker Studio format that Tenrec has developed, and we'll walk through the features that we've included in our templates, and then show you how to connect Looker Studio to the Google Sheets report that we just pulled. So before Augusta walks through that, though, we need to understand, does the Google Sheet need to be formatted differently to feed into Google Looker Studio?
Yes, that's a great question. It does. So we will go back to that Google Sheet that we just ran a report on. And to format a tab for Looker Studio, we will want to go to the metric that we're wanting to import into the report. In this case, we'll test users. We're going to duplicate that raw data tab. And what I like to do is change the title to include Looker Studio so that I know when I open this sheet in Looker Studio, that's the tab that I need to select for the data that I want. Once I have that renamed, I'm going to just slightly tweak the format of the sheet. I'm going to go ahead and delete these first few rows. And then I'm going to reformat the date because Looker Studio is a little picky about that. You're going to want to select this formatting option without the 0 before any single digit months or dates and get that applied. And once you have it set up like this, it's good to go into Looker Studio. You'll want to grab the link of the tab and we can carry that over again, like I mentioned, into Looker Studio. All right, so let's hop into Looker Studio. I will give you a little bit of a tour of the features and show you how to connect the report data. In Tenrec report, we have a user overview, an acquisition overview, and a behavior overview. To give you a look at the user overview, we have it broken out into total users in a variety of different ways, sortable by date if desired, and new users in the same format as the total users. In the acquisition overview, we cover a variety of elements, including the acquisition channels, user source and medium, and again, in a variety of different visuals so that the information is easy to digest and share with others so that they understand. And then for behavior overview, we take a look at top landing pages, top pages, some metrics tied to that, sessions, page views, and then some additional date breakdowns. So a lot of really valuable information. We consider the information covered in this report to be the key elements that should be preserved over time, but you can certainly utilize the additional metrics and dimensions in the reporting export that I just showed you to create whatever type of report is important to your team and organization. So now that you know kind of what the Looker report looks like, we can go through and practice connecting the Google Sheets export data to Looker Studio. We are in view mode for the tour. To connect the data, we are going to need to go into edit mode. Then you will select the graph table that you'd like to update the data source for and hop over here to setup data source. We're going to select add data. We're going to go to Google Sheets. We are going to paste the URL that we captured earlier when we were formatting the data for Looker Studio. and you'll see that you can find the worksheet that you want to pull in information for. I'm going to select the Looker Studio users option. I'm going to uncheck include hidden and filtered cells, and then I'm going to click add. So you'll see that the data pulled into that Google Sheets report has been added into Looker in just those few steps. You can alter the way any of these tables or graphs looks by altering the dimensions, the metrics. It will be limited based on what you have pulled into the Google Sheet, but you can certainly play around with all these different options based on how you'd like the data to show up. And just to play around with another option, we can go to the scorecard here and connect the data that we just pulled by following the same steps, adding that Google Sheet URL, selecting the same tab, deselecting that, and then adding. And then you'll see that the user's information has been updated based on the data that is in the sheet. And you can just continue doing that throughout the report as you continue to pull additional reports and bringing them into Looker Studio.
Awesome. Thank you for walking through that. As we mentioned, if you don't want to do this yourself, 10rec does offer this as a service, but you can contact us to get instructions as well as the Looker Studio templates that we've created. So that way you're not having to build the charts and graphs and visualizations yourself. But we hope that this was helpful, that you enjoyed it. Again, this was a walkthrough through preserving your UA data in Looker Studio. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out us. There is a link below that you can go to our page that's dedicated to this service. Appreciate your time. This is your friends at 10rec. Thank you.